Cape Talk.
Cape Talk.
Call Pippa Hudson now.
021 446 0567.
I've got surfing on the mind this afternoon, not only because it's a beautiful day and the sea was winking at me as I drove into work, but also because I went last night to the final night of the Wavescape Surf and Ocean Festival and saw the inspiring new documentary about Bethany Hamilton. And just a reminder for those of you who need it that she's the young surfer who lost her arm to a shark encounter when she was only 13, but carried on pursuing her dream of becoming a professional surfer. If you are interested in learning more about her story, the film is called Unstoppable, and I believe it's available on Apple TV for those who might have missed the film on circuit last night. But if you love the sport, and particularly if you have a girl surfer in the house like I do, it's one not to be missed. And I was thinking about it driving home from the screening last night, that in fact my young surfer has been very lucky in that she has never lacked for female role models in her sport. And I'm delighted to have another one of them sitting in front of me today, someone who, like Bethany Hamilton, uses her sport for much more than just personal fulfillment and sporting achievement. Her name is Roxy Davis. She's a 9-time South African surfing champ and the owner of Surf Emporium in Muizenberg, which I'm told is one of the largest surfing schools in the world. Roxy, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Welcome. It's so great to have you with us. And I have to say, her team managed to get me standing up on a surfboard. So if they can do it for me, they can do it for absolutely anyone. Roxy's here to chat to us not only about her own surfing story, but more importantly about the Roxy Davis Foundation, which uses surfing as a catalyst for positive change in people's lives in a number of different ways. So it's great to have you with us today. Let's talk a little bit about your own story first. Born and raised in Kommetjie, I believe. Were you surfing as soon as you could walk?
Well, I actually started surfing at the age of 12, which was considered late. But I was determined not to let that be the defining factor in my surfing career. So I made up for it by, many hours in the water, dedication, extra training. And that determination got me 9 South African surfing titles. And in 2017, I became the first South African to have ever represented our country in all 3 surfing disciplines at the World Champs.
That's longboard, shortboard and stand-up paddleboard, is that correct? And you've coached along the way. You've played a huge role in mentoring other young surfers, particularly female surfers. I mean, what is it about surfing and what it did for your life that you so passionately want to share with others?
I started surfing 24 years ago, and in South Africa this year we're celebrating 100 years of surfing. Yeah. So, when I first started, it was very much a male-dominated sport. Inclusion of women was very rare, and I thought, we should be included. We can dance and glide and surf and shred and do all things on the waves, and why not be alongside, our fellow athletes? Yeah. So 18 years ago, I started with a little umbrella on the beach, and that was Surf Emporium back then. And the idea was to coach part-time and really just give back to women just everything that I'd received from surfing. I call surfing my therapy and my medicine. And my first sign-up after Blue Crush, that same year, we had 200 girls sign up. And we realized that the part-time coaching was going to be a full-time job. And 18 years later, we've really learned that it's more than just the daughter. It's the mum, the daughter, and the whole family. So now Surf Emporium is the home of the Roxy Learn to Surf and Surf with Quicksilver. So we include everybody.
You really do. I mean, the day that I had my first lesson, it wasn't just the mom, the daughter. It was the mom, the daughter, and the granny. There was a woman standing up on a surfboard next to me who was at least 30 years older than me. And the look of joy and exhilaration on her face just said it all, that anybody can learn to do this and love doing this.
Absolutely. And people ask, what age is it for? Our youngest we've taught is 18 months. My older boy, who's 6 now, he surfs with me. He started when he was 2. And really there's no, age limit. Pam, she is 77. She was diagnosed as a quadriplegic. She's on waves and riding as well. So there is no age limit. And, whatever you want to do, you can do.
You used the word surfing as medicine, and you actually echoed something that I heard Bethany Hamilton say last night in the movie, that she referred to the ocean being her place of healing and the place where she felt most herself. Have you had moments in your life where the focus that the sport requires and that ability to just take yourself away from everything else has played a sort of a healing role for you? Absolutely.
Even talking about it now, it gives me goosebumps. The power of the ocean, or the magic ability it forces you to be in the present. There's no cell phones, no computers, no board meetings in that sense. You have to be in the moment, in the present, and everything else is washed away. So it really is this place in the space that is so magical, and you can only describe it to somebody, but you got to say to them, do it yourself, really try it, and then you'll understand.
Yeah. You spoke about the very male-dominated environment that you started surfing in. It has changed a lot. I mean, as you said, the impact of popularizing female surfers and having the role models and the movies, etc., obviously demonstrates to young girls this is something you can do and you can try. It's not a boys' sport only. Has it changed enough? I mean, we've seen a lot of debates over the last year or two around equity and pay, and there have been big steps forward there particularly. But is it a sport that's starting to achieve gender parity?
I definitely see it. You know, we started with Holiday Surf Camp today, and the number of boys and girls who are joining from young kids from 5 years old all the way up to 18, it's 50-50 all the way. And if you go and surf Muizenberg anytime, you know, midweek between Monday and Friday, once the kids are dropped off at school, there are more women in the lineup than there definitely are men. Yeah. So I do see a significant swing, especially in the last, I'd say, 5 to 8 years.
Now, you mentioned, Pam, you're quadriplegic surfer, and that's a very important aspect here that I want to talk to you today about what the Roxy Davis Foundation tries to make possible, because you're all about saying anybody can do this, and if it is more difficult for you than it is for others, we're going to try and make it possible for you. The foundation is all about helping people access the sport, whatever limitations they may face in life. Tell us a little bit more about that philosophy.
Well, we've really been, for 18 years, we've been sharing happiness, which is what we call it, with families. And 3 years ago, we started our adaptive surf program. We thought, you know, we're teaching able-bodied participants, but why exclude people? And we started what we call adaptive surfing is, you know, surfing with a disability. We call it now surf therapy, so it's an inclusion for everybody. And surf therapy involves, you know, participation of individuals with a physical disability, intellectual disability, or mental health challenges. And what we've been doing is running monthly clinics for the last 3 years. And this year we actually founded the Roxy Davis Foundation. It's a formal nonprofit organization. And next year we have Project 2020, where we are running 20 surf therapy programs for 20 new participants in each of those programs. So it's 400 hours of surf therapy, which involves physical activity, which is the surfing, therapy, and then the community element. So I think we underestimate the value of being part of a tribe, and that adds not just for the participant, but for the volunteers who get involved, family members, carers. It really is creating a change and a movement in people's lives.
What do you do in terms of adapting the equipment? I mean, I'm coming back to Bethany Hamilton's story, having to learn to surf with one arm. She had to adapt to her surfboard and have a little handle attached so she could sort of duck under the waves when she was going out through the surf. Do you have to have specially adapted equipment to facilitate these lessons?
I think in South Africa we are, you know, maybe a little bit behind in adaptations of equipment. Okay. We are trying our best to get to that point where we can adapt for every participant. But, you know, getting into a wetsuit, we have
that's
little
hard
tricks
even for an able-bodied person, I have to say.
We use a little like zoomy sock, which we call it, to slide into the wetsuit. You know, if somebody is an amputee, we tie up the leg, the loose part of the leg, and we really do our best. We do adapt. We've got 5 adaptive surfboards, which Virgin Active kindly sponsored for us this year, and they are, you know, very buoyant. They have handles, they have foam rubber on them, and they're designed specifically for, you know, surfers that need that extra support.
Okay. Sounds like I need to get onto one of those, Roxy. I need a lot of extra support here. But I mean, somebody's asked a very interesting question on the SMS line. Is it true that surfing is actually being prescribed as therapy by doctors in some countries? Any comment?
Absolutely, yes. This is such an exciting thing. So in South Africa, our surf therapy programs are free to the public. Anyone with a physical, intellectual disability or mental health challenge. We're offering them obviously twice a month next year. And in the UK and some parts of the US, they're actually prescribing surf therapy as part of, you know, your wellness program. I know in Dubai they call it a happiness prescription. And my dream of all dreams would be to have a social prescribing program in South Africa where doctors or medical professionals can really prescribe what we're doing. We see the benefits, and next year we're actually undergoing a master's study in surf therapy.
Fantastic.
And the rehabilitation benefits. And informally we have occupational therapists, doctors, physiotherapists prescribing surf therapy and sending their participants or patients to us. But we'd love to see it on a more formal, you know, manner in South Africa.
I mean, tell us anecdotally, what are the benefits that you're seeing for those participants? What difference are you making?
Well, I mean, as an example, we've got Nola Tandu, who she wasn't 3 years ago, wasn't able to walk properly. She went into the ocean. She has started surfing. She never even knew how to swim or even been to the ocean before. And today, well, in 2020, she will become the first Black South African woman to represent our country at the World Adaptive Surfing Championships. She's now able to walk unaided. Pam, who I mentioned earlier, she, after a year of surf therapy, she's gone from immobile and diagnosed as a quadriplegic to walking up 2 flights of stairs and standing unaided. So we see everything from, the physical to the physiological to the mental. And we've even seen children who are diagnosed as nonverbal starting to communicate through simple words and gestures, which they weren't before. So I think a sense of well-being, wellness, self-confidence. Kids are going home and the parents are saying, they're smiling, they're communicating more, the door is now left open and not closed. The families are coming together. So we see changes on all levels. And that's actually what we want to research.
I have to ask, because I'm hosting a conversation on the show tomorrow about self-harming in teens, and you spoke about mental health issues. For somebody who's in that terrible headspace, you mentioned the growth in self-esteem and self-confidence. I would imagine for teenagers in particular who are going through identity crises and struggling with where they fit in the world, this is something that would be hugely beneficial as well.
There is a place and space definitely in surf therapy for youngsters who are finding themselves challenged in so many different ways. And yes, you're welcome to come and join us. You can sign up as a volunteer or as a participant. Even giving back as a volunteer is, you get so many benefits from that in itself. So absolutely yes.
It sounds incredible, and I can't wait to come back and be part of this perhaps as a volunteer, because I don't think I'm much good on the surfboard itself, Roxy, but I'd love to help out. Now, I want to mention that you've got one of your free surf therapy clinic events coming up this coming weekend. Have you got your full quota of 20 people already?
We are always open for more participants and more volunteers. For each participant, we need 10 volunteers, so there's always a need for both, and we're never going to say no to anybody wanting to participate. So if you'd like to come and join, it's Sunday between 12 and 2 on Muizenberg Beach. Please do pre-register so we know you're coming and we're prepared for you.
And how do you pre-register?
You can go to our website, which is www.roxydavisfoundation.org. Otherwise, info@roxydavisfoundation.org, and we'll direct you to the right place.
Okay, so it's Sunday 12 till 2 at Muizenberg, and to be repeated in February and March again as well. So please check out the website if you're away this weekend and would like to be part of this in 2020. All the details are there. Roxy, it's amazing what you're doing, and I love the way you've found a much bigger purpose for the sport that gives you personal joy. I want to thank you so much for coming in to share the story with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And again, that website address is www.roxydavisfoundation.org.